I'm laughing already.
Jason, you had one job.
Okay.
All
we
right,
do this
do
all
it.
the time. Even though I knew the name of the podcast, I always forget the name. It's like I have stage fright. I can't say it or something.
It's okay.
Welcome to New York Wedding Jam, the home of the podcast for modern couples. Is that what it is?
That'll work well enough. We'll go with it.
I'm your host, Jason Alisea, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Martine.
Okay.
Did you forget my name?
No.
That was like intentional
that
for me to say
That was the
it.
cue for you to jump in and say,
I see.
Okay.
Okay, well, I missed my cue.
We've been talking about having a canned intro, but then you're like, no, maybe the fun banter is better.
I like it better. I want.
You want me to keep messing up. You want me to keep messing up.
I do, because it makes me laugh.
We're never going to get sponsored if we keep doing this, Martine.
I think we can. I think this is like half the fun of the whole thing. You can't tell me that was not entertaining.
I'm looking at the countdown timer, and I'm like, and right before we hit the countdown timer, I recited the name of the podcast and my own name. But I once the countdown timer hit, I got stage fright, and I don't know what happened. Yeah, I used to want to be a comedian, a stand-up comic.
I see.
And
that
I
might
don't
be
know
a little
what
more
happened.
pressure. That might be a little more pressure than you're ready to deal with, Jason.
It's the camera. I think I work well with a live audience, but this camera business is scary. It's scary.
And that's fair. And I will tell you, as a planner, I really don't love being in front of the camera. I'd much rather be behind the scenes whenever possible.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
I hear you. You know, it's also like I do a lot of videos for social media, but it's like my camera on my time, and I hit record, and I can, if you know, my son and my wife always make fun of me because I will do this all the time, just mess up and re-record the same line over and over again. It takes me like an hour to record a 30-second or 60-second video. So this is classic me.
I say we just go with it though. Like, I think it makes it more fun and more real. Like, we're here to be human, Jason, you know, and making sure that our audience gets all the human level of weddings and what's happening there, so that they can be informed and do their job properly as they're planning. So frankly, I say let's rock it.
What's been going on with you?
Oh, you know, I'm having an interesting kind of week. You know, lots of work, lots of things on the back end, but I am here. How about yourself?
Well, I got to tell you, if you ever have a 13-year-old, make sure that you attach everything that they own to them by a string, because they lose everything. My son lost a $300 pair of sports goggles that I bought for him.
How?
And I don't know. We don't know where they are. They're just missing. We thought they were at the last away game. I called the other school. Hey, have you found some glasses? There's sport goggle glasses. Yeah. Nope, sorry, sir. We haven't found them. $300 down the drain.
Sorry.
So,
you know, I will say that I
also mention he lost his lunchbox. Yeah, there's other things too.
I am the queen of losing things, or was. This necklace that I'm wearing, I always have on, and the story behind it isn't really super special. It was my mom's necklace, and she gave it to me and told me that if I lost this one, because I had lost plenty of others, that she was never buying me another one. And the only way that I could think of to not lose it was to keep it on forever. And so it just never comes off.
Okay.
And this is from when I was a kid, right? Like, I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that when I got the necklace, and now it's just stuck there.
Well, listen, you found the method and it works. Your necklace
exactly.
You never lose it, and
exactly.
I need to get that for my son. Or
yeah, there's got to be a never lose option that he's working on there.
Yeah, it's a big regret that I have buying him those glasses.
That one hurts. That one hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna lie.
Speaking of regrets, today's episode. I always find a way to make a segue. That's one thing I'm good at. I have good English skills, good language skills. So the segue is regrets. Today's episode is regrets that couples are having, right? What are some biggest client regrets that you and I have seen in the wedding industry, heard our clients mention or other clients mention? So what have you heard?
I've heard plenty. So, I mean, if we're going to start from the top, I've had clients come to me and just be sorry that they had not hired a full service wedding planner. So I've had people basically crying on the phone like, I thought I could do this myself, but I can't. And I'm
After the wedding?
no, before.
Like during the process.
During the process, like,
Okay.
or they're getting close to the wedding now and realizing how much work they have already done, but how much work they still have to go. And so when they call me, they're like, I need help. I need help now. I have also heard from people, who have gotten married, who didn't hire a coordinator or a planner at all, being like, yeah, we really should have done that, and we're sorry we didn't do that. Yeah. So
That's
it
me.
happens. It definitely happens, and I think, we try and prevent the thing, right? Like, because it's obviously better if you catch it early, but not everybody is going to be in that mode, and maybe you thought you could handle it and just couldn't get there. So that's one of the biggest ones that I hear all the time is, I wish we'd hired you earlier. I wish we'd hired a planner. Those are definitely some of the bigger regrets that I hear. But the next one on the list, Jason, is I really wish we'd hired a videographer.
I've had people call me after their wedding, and no, they didn't cry. I was going to say they cried. I was being facetious, but they were lamenting. They were saying, we should have hired you. All of our friends took great video with their phones, and some of them shared it with us, some of them didn't. But we really would have liked the pictures were great. We love the photos, but we really would have liked to have seen. And a lot of them are seeing like their friends' wedding videos, like highlight videos.
Right.
And they're fun, they're exciting, they're emotional, and you hear the speeches, you hear the vows, and of course they don't have that, or they have portions of it from the friends' cell phones, but not a full account of the speech or the vows or whatever it is. So I've had 2 people call me after their wedding to let me know that, and it's I feel bad, but I like to hear that. It's as mean as it sounds.
I know. Well, and that was kind of what I was saying. Like, so I'm not trying to. I'm sorry at that point that we couldn't get you there right beforehand or in enough time to make this better for you. But sorry. Like, so that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, I hope people take this one where it's intended with think about it very carefully. Because it's hard to come back from later. And I think that's the biggest part about all of the regrets is that once the opportunity is gone, sometimes there's no coming back from that. And so I have heard a lot of people lament either not having the video or wishing they'd hired a videographer, and now it's either the one they want is already booked, or it's too late to get one now, or we can only get something last minute and it's not going to be quite the quality that they wanted. Wedding days go really, really fast, and having the documentation of how the day went is the only thing you're going to have left to remember it by. And so having a quality photo and video team, to me, is a really critical piece of capturing that day. And so, just trying to make sure people don't end up on that regret block with the things that are happening.
It's interesting. On the flip side of that, I oftentimes will interview a client or a prospective client on like a Zoom call or something, and one of the first things they say is, everyone told us to get a videographer because it's the biggest regret, and you have to get one or you'll be sorry you didn't. So I have people, and sometimes I book those people and sometimes I don't, but not many of them come to me with this notion that I better book one. So
right.
The message is getting out. And hopefully
the message is getting out. The message is getting out. And hopefully, like I said, if we can get everybody a planner and we can get everybody a videographer, we will have done our jobs with making sure that they understand those, like the importance of those 2 pieces, so they're not missing out. One of the other regrets, though, that I hear is we invited too many people, and that there's that person that I thought was super essential to my list, and they didn't even show at the wedding, right? I hear that one all the time, and I'm like, yeah, you probably didn't need to invite that many people, just truthfully.
Right. I think we can kind of sum it up by saying like giving in to outside pressures instead of staying true to your own ideas or your own vision and desires for your wedding. And but those pressures, they're heavy from parents and from best friends,
Right.
who pressure you. Maybe you feel the pressure to invite someone, and they're kind of pushing, and you're feeling the pressure, and then you regret it later.
Yeah, and I think this is why one of the first things that I tell my clients to do, and I know we've talked about this previously, but making sure that you've got your priorities in order and communicating those priorities to parents, best friends, so that they understand the why, as opposed to, okay, fine, whatever, I'll just do what you want, because you didn't really have an answer as to why you didn't want something, or you did want something, depending on what the situation is. Having that answer readily available always makes it easier to get everybody on the same page, right? So starting from the premise of, let's talk about it. And, again, yes, there's always going to be that flexibility of, like, if I don't really care and they really do, like, maybe there's room for budging on certain things. But putting in the fact that you're going to regret it if you just kind of cave to everything somebody else wanted for your wedding day.
Right. What about venue-related concerns? What have you heard related to venues?
Oh, man, that's a big one, too. So I've had people regret having spent a certain amount of money on venues that they probably didn't have to. I've had people with the outside, wanting the wedding outside and not taking into consideration that weather is a thing. Listen, we live in the New York metropolitan area. The weather can be nice, but it is not a guarantee, no matter what time of the year. And a lot of times people will book a venue because they love the outside and didn't really think about the indoor plan at all. And then if it rains, they're upset that they kind of don't have enough options for photos, and they don't like where their ceremony is going to be, things like that I think people should put a little bit more thought into. Do I like both plans? Do I like indoor and outdoor options for these things?
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about this before, and I think I actually made this like a social media post on my own Instagram. But one thing that I have heard people actually mention that they're concerned about is, like you said, the rain, and keeping a positive attitude during. And I think that just goes to overall stress and anxiety, right? And this is something else that we talked about earlier. Being able to know yourself and manage your stress and anxiety as you go into a wedding day. And whether your timeline gets behind, or it rains cats and dogs, or maybe your best friend can't make it, or something like that. And something that would normally be able to bum you out, right? You've got to be able to be ready to combat all those other things and focus on the mission, and that's marrying your best friend. So a lot of times I hear of, or I've actually heard from brides mention that a regret is like not managing their emotions, not enjoying the moment, worrying about the rain, or if someone's not able to make it, or listen, if your getaway car, your exit car breaks down and it has a flat tire and you can't get away, yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but be prepared for the unexpected.
For sure. And I think that, look, I keep a lot of, and I think I've said this before too, I keep a lot of back end crazy happenings away from my clients on the day of, because there are a lot of moving pieces and things do not always go according to plan. My job is to fix it as best as possible. Again, the world is not a perfect place, right? And so there's always going to be things that happen, but your attitude on how you see it will take that from being a regret of the day and take it to just being like part of the moment, right? I saw a video recently where the bride's veil flew away in the wind, right? That could be an upsetting thing, but she's just laughing about it, right? Like her and her fiance, like were just kind of like, whoops, well, you know what I mean? Like that's that. So the day goes, and they just kind of moved on with things, and you could see that the joy was real on just being like a present for the day, even though, yeah, you could probably say that that wasn't a perfect moment, right? That this long anticipated walk down the aisle had a flaw theoretically, but it was less about the thing that was happening and how they took it.
I saw the same video. The groom, I always found interesting in that video, the groom and his best man had the same physical reaction. They both doubled over laughing.
Right.
Maybe it's because they're best friends. Maybe they were brothers. But you know what I thought when I saw that video? In that moment, I mean, that is a very high pressure, tension packed moment. And I think that the veil being blown away in that moment broke the tension. It just, it released all of the hot air that was built up into that moment. And her dad was laughing. Her dad was there walking her down. The thing blew away. She's dying laughing. The groom is laughing. The best man's laughing. And it was just like such a relief that I'm sure the rest of the ceremony went swimmingly. I could feel that just by watching the laughter in that video.
The one clip, right? And that's the thing. Like, so attitude makes a difference. Definitely keeping some of these other things in mind. So the vendors that you book, for sure, which we talked a little bit about, the attitude that you're bringing to the day, that also makes a difference. But also making sure that you're planning your wedding with intention, that you're doing, you're planning your wedding for your day, your way, in a way that will be remembered happily and fondly. So I think those are the three big takeaways, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I had something, but I lost it. It might be my age.
We'll come back to it.
I don't know if we have time to come back to it. Maybe not. I was just entranced by your words, Martine. I was just like,
we'll take it for the next podcast. It'll come to you at some point, Jason.
I'm sure when we start
share
recording,
it with the people.
when we hit stop, it'll pop right back into my brain. That's all right.
Well, Jason, it has been a pleasure as always. Hopefully that idea will just be a whole other podcast that we can talk about in the future. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.
I will. Thank you. You too, Martine. I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.